some Marvel heroes didn't fade because readers forgot them. They faded because Marvel never chose to develop them. These aren't background characters. These were once fan favorites with unique designs, emotional depth, and story potential powerful enough to reshape entire corners of the Marvel Universe. Across decades of reboots and shifting priorities, their arcs were teased, stalled, or erased. These are the heroes who should have mattered but never got the stories they deserved. So, who are these characters who never got their own big stories? Here are the top 10 Marvel characters fans loved but never got big stories. At number 10 we have Sleepwalker. First appearing in Sleepwalker issue 1, 1991, Sleepwalker entered Marvel Comics as a guardian from the Mindscape, a surreal dimension that exists inside the human subconscious. Readers instantly connected with him because he wasn't just another hero in a mask. He was a haunting, angular figure who protected humanity without ever being seen, emerging only when his host, Rick Sheridan, fell asleep. His dream-warping visuals, strange villains, and psychological tone made his series stand out during an era dominated by guns, armor, and extreme attitudes. But Marvel never followed through on him. His origin was barely explored, the Mindscape was never mapped, and his connection to Marvel's larger mystical or psychic forces was left untouched. After his 33-issue series ended, he drifted into scattered cameos and comedic appearances that never matched the promise of his debut, leaving a character built on imagination trapped in stories that never dreamed big enough. Sleepwalker didn't fade because readers forgot him. He faded because Marvel never let his world grow beyond the surface. At number 9 is Dupe. First appearing in X-Force issue 116, 2001, Dupe arrived as a floating green enigma recording the team's missions. Readers instantly connected with him because he didn't behave like anything else in Marvel Comics. He wasn't human, mutant, alien, or machine, just a strange wobbling presence who spoke in an unreadable language and seemed to know far more than he ever revealed. His mix of slapstick weirdness and hidden cosmic-level hints made him a cult favorite overnight, especially when stories implied he might secretly be one of the most powerful beings in the X-books. But Marvel never explained him. His origin is contradictory, his powers change depending on the writer, and even his purpose shifts from comic relief to a potential universe-shaping force. One storyline suggests he's a Cold War experiment, another hints he's an extra-dimensional archivist, and others imply he's far more dangerous than anyone realizes. After X-Statix, Dupe floated in and out of cameos without answers, leaving one of their strangest creations forever undefined. At number 8 is Darkhawk. First appearing in Darkhawk issue 1, 1990, Chris Powell entered Marvel Comics as a teenager who discovered an alien amulet capable of transforming him into a biomechanical warrior. Readers instantly connected with him because he represented something rare, a street-level kid suddenly thrust into cosmic stakes. His armored design, mysterious Raptors mythology, and crossovers with Spider-Man, the New Warriors, and the Avengers made him feel like Marvel's next breakout hero. For a moment, Darkhawk looked like the perfect bridge between grounded stories and larger cosmic epics, but Marvel never committed to his evolution. His alien origins were teased but never fully mapped. The raptor species shifted wildly across storylines, and arcs that hinted at him becoming a major cosmic player were repeatedly abandoned. After his 50-issue series ended, he resurfaced during events like War of Kings and Infinity Countdown, but always as a side character with unfinished threads. A character designed for big stories never actually received one. At number 7 is Nomad aka Jack Monroe. First appearing in Captain America issue 153, 1972, as the replacement Bucky, and later taking the Nomad identity in Captain America issue 282, 1983. Jack Monroe entered Marvel Comics as a man defined by loyalty, trauma, and a desperate need to serve a country that kept abandoning him. Readers instantly connected with him because he wasn't polished or idealistic. He was raw, conflicted, and painfully human. His journey from patriotic sidekick to street-level vigilante gave him a gritty edge that felt different from most Marvel heroes. For a moment, Nomad looked like the perfect candidate to explore the darker consequences of the super soldier legacy. But Marvel never gave him a stable direction. His history with government manipulation was barely unpacked, his mental deterioration was handled inconsistently, and his vigilante era ended without the payoff his setup demanded. Later stories wrote him out abruptly, even killing him in a way that ignored his complex past. Nomad didn't disappear because his character lacked weight, leaving one of their most tragic legacies without a definitive story. At number 6 is Firestar, first appearing in Uncanny X-Men issue 193, 1985. Firestar entered Marvel Comics as a young mutant struggling to understand her destructive microwave powers while carrying emotional scars from her time in the Hellions. Readers instantly connected with her because she brought something rare to the X-line: vulnerability without weakness. Angelica Jones was powerful, empathetic, and constantly torn between wanting a normal life and fearing what her abilities might do to the people she cared about. Her early miniseries revealed the extent of her trauma under Emma Frost, and for a moment, Firestar looked like a character primed for deep, character-driven storytelling. But Marvel never built on that foundation. After her standout years in New Warriors and a brief Avengers run, Firestar drifted across the line with little narrative focus. Her complex trauma, her fear of overusing her powers, and her potential as an Omega-level energy manipulator were barely explored. Storylines teased leadership roles or major arcs, only to drop them abruptly. At number 5 is Dani Moonstar, first appearing in Marvel graphic novel issue 4, The New Mutants in 1982. She entered Marvel Comics as a fiercely independent young mutant with the power to bring a person's deepest fears or desires to life. Readers connected with her immediately because she wasn't introduced as a follower. She stood out as a natural leader, thoughtful, brave, and unafraid to challenge authority when it mattered. Her Cheyenne heritage added depth to her voice, giving her stories emotional weight beyond the usual teenage hero arc. When she later became a Valkyrie of Asgard, fans believed Marvel had found a character capable of bridging myth, magic, and mutant history all at once. But Marvel never let that promise fully unfold. Dani was pushed aside during major X-Men eras, left out of key teams like X-Force, and often written out with sudden power losses that stalled her growth. Her Valkyrie destiny, once a defining path, was abandoned for long stretches. Years of potential were left unused, leaving a beloved character waiting for the stories she deserved. At number 4 is U.S. Agent, also known as John Walker, who first appeared in Captain America issue 323 in 1986. He entered Marvel Comics as the Super Patriot, a government-endorsed challenger to Steve Rogers. Readers immediately connected with him because he wasn't an idealized symbol. He was flawed, volatile, and painfully honest about the pressures placed on him. Walker carried the weight of insecurity and patriotism like a burden. And when he briefly replaced Steve Rogers as Captain America, his harsher methods and emotional instability made him one of Marvel's most divisive characters. For a moment, it felt like Walker would become Marvel's boldest exploration of a modern, conflicted American hero. But Marvel never committed to his potential. His role shifted constantly, from patriotic icon to government weapon, from disgraced vigilante to reluctant Avenger, without a single definitive arc to anchor his legacy. Promising directions, including stories about PTSD, political manipulation, and his fractured relationship with Steve Rogers, were abandoned or cut short. John Walker became a character full of possibilities, left drifting without the long-term story he deserved. At number 3 is Jessica Jones. First appearing in Alias issue 1, 2001, Jessica Jones entered Marvel Comics as a broken former superhero trying to rebuild her life as a private investigator. Readers instantly connected with her because she wasn't written as an icon or a symbol. She was vulnerable, angry, sarcastic, and painfully real. Her struggles with trauma, identity, and emotional survival made Alias one of Marvel's most grounded and human stories. For a moment, Jessica looked like the future of Marvel's street-level lineup, a character built for long-term, character-driven storytelling with deep ties to Luke Cage, Carol Danvers, and the Purple Man. But Marvel never gave her the follow-up she earned. After her original run ended, she drifted between scattered appearances, supporting roles, and short relaunches that never carried the same weight. Entire aspects of her life, her PI agency, her growth as a parent, her unresolved history with mind control, were teased and then abandoned, leaving one of their most powerful emotional characters without the big stories she deserved. At number 2 is Wonder Man, who first appeared in Avengers issue 9 in 1964. He entered Marvel Comics not as a proud hero, but as a reluctant villain transformed into an ionic being against his will. Readers immediately connected with him because his struggle felt deeply human. Simon Williams grappled with identity, guilt, and the fear of never being enough. Even as he stood beside gods and legends, his life in Hollywood, his brother-like bond with the Vision, and his complicated relationship with Wanda Maximoff gave him an emotional depth few Avengers could match. For a moment, Wonder Man looked destined to become the team's conscience, a powerhouse who questioned what heroism truly meant. But Marvel never committed to a clear path for him. He bounced between roles: action star, pacifist, rebel, mentor, and forgotten Avenger. Promising arcs, now from his fear of dying again to his crisis over being energy made real, were abandoned halfway. His solo series faded quickly, and his most meaningful relationships were left unresolved. Wonder Man became an Avenger with enormous potential, quietly pushed aside before he ever received the defining storyline he deserved. Finally, at number 1 is Beta Ray Bill, first appearing in Thor issue 337 in 1983. When he arrived, readers were stunned. Bill looked like a monster, but he acted with the honor of a true hero. In his very first story, he lifted Thor's hammer, something no one outside of Asgard had ever done. That moment made fans fall in love with him immediately. He wasn't trying to replace Thor. He was a protector fighting to save the last survivors of his destroyed homeworld, carrying grief and responsibility far heavier than any weapon. For a while, it seemed like Marvel had discovered their next major cosmic hero. But Bill was never given that future. Instead of becoming a lead character, he was pushed into short miniseries, guest appearances, and background roles. Many of his biggest emotional stories, losing his people, his bond with Sif, and his fight to prove he was more than Thor's shadow, were left unfinished. Readers saw a hero built for greatness, but Marvel never gave him the long, powerful storyline he deserved. Thanks for watching the video. Comment down below about your favorite part. Also press the subscribe button and bell icon for regular updates.